Welcome back to the Intention Podcast with Tami Palmer, a show where we unpack what it truly means to live life with intention. Today, we're talking about intuition. To help us dive into this topic, I've invited my dear friend, Jessica Stokes, to join me in this conversation. Jessica is a published author, teacher, and spiritual practitioner who helps women reconnect with their intuition through embodied practices. Through sacred movement, energy work, and labyrinth experiences, she creates space for deeper listening and self-trust. Her work reminds us that intuition lives in our bodies, not just the mind. Jessica and I lead intuition workshops at my soul work retreats. So here's a little bit of a taste of what we get into on retreat. Jess, I'm so excited you're here. I can't wait to dig into this. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Yeah. As I was thinking about this podcast, I've done an episode on creativity, I've done one on astrology, and I was thinking, what are some of the things that are really important to me to convey to my listeners, to educate people on, to inspire them about? And intuition kept rising to the top. And it's like, if you don't have that, everything else sort of falls apart, right? Like that's the baseline. And in terms of who I want to have in conversation around intuition, it's got to be you, because this is what we teach together.
It is what we teach together. And, for me, intuition is such a basis of really who we are as human beings. It's almost as natural, or can be as natural as breathing and moving and just living. So,
Yeah.
and in fact, some of the things we've taught in some of our retreats is how specifically you can tune in to those different types of intuition. So if it's our smell, our taste, our hearing, our touch, or our feeling, those five senses, there's also that sixth sense of, to not, pair on the movie from Once Upon a Time, but
Right.
which is a great movie. But that really is that sixth sense of, and that influences and can influence all those different aspects. And if we can dive in and dial into that a bit for anyone, and it really is super powerful and can be a really helpful guide to living.
Yeah. And it's interesting, a lot of people say like, oh, well, you're intuitive, I'm not, as though it's a gift that was bestowed on one person and not another. And we really believe that intuition is it's that knowing, right? It's our gut self. And
Yeah.
it's really, well, I'll say that I believe you believe that we have a higher self, that there is a soul self inside of us, right? That we're not just this personality that's interacting. And there's a certainty that our soul knows if we can allow it to speak, if we can allow it to have voice. And it is a quiet voice. And I think that's one reason people don't listen, right? Because anxiety tends to be a lot louder.
And our mind is a lot louder, right?
And our mind, yes.
So there's another way to think about that, or another way to balance that, is that our body and our heart and our gut, our heart has as much intuition and as much knowledge as our head and our brain. We tend to get really caught in our brain, and we want to try to resolve things and solve things. And if we stop and listen to other aspects of ourselves and our bodies, we may have a lot of different answers because our brain wants to get in the way.
Yep, totally. We, you and I got into a really interesting conversation last week that I would love to bring into this conversation around these concepts of words like belief and faith and trust, and how if you are spiritually minded, sometimes words like faith and belief feel like, well, that's for people that are of a religious faith, right? That's not a word that can work for me. But intuition is really faith in yourself, belief in a higher thing, right? Trust. They're all connected. So dive in on that one because we've been having fun with these words.
Yeah, I have really been practicing or working on practicing how we can reframe words that have been um, that we associate, and typically it's because we associate them with something else. For me specifically, the word faith was very much associated with religion. And although I certainly call myself a very spiritual person and have an interesting relationship with religion as well, I didn't like the word because it was felt so part of faith in whatever God, or and I believe in God. So, but
Yeah.
it just held such a big powerful word. And as I started teasing out that word, and then the word trust too, we trust that something good is going to happen, or we trust like trust has a there's like, but we kind of know. Whereas faith, there is a blindness in faith. There is a surrender when we start to really dive into that feeling of faith, because and that's really when we listen well to our intuition, when we surrender and let go a little bit of that, oh, but I really can work it out in my brain and my mind. So for me, trust sometimes becomes this, yeah, I'll figure it out. Whereas faith, surrender, let go has the sense, and intuition has the sense of really, really trusting, but really letting those answers come, not knowing if you know the outcome.
I think you really hit on the right word with surrender because it is this opposite polarity to control. And it's that letting go and trusting. But you have to surrender, and you can only surrender if you've got the faith, right? If there's something, because the faith is a safety net that's going to catch you.
Right.
And that comes from belief. And so these words are all teased together. We're both writers and we are huge readers, so we get geek out on words. But I think teasing apart the words is really important.
Yeah, and I think reclaiming the words.
Yes.
Because what happens when we reclaim what we've put judgment on words, or we put judgment on so many things. But if we can surrender and let go of those judgments that are behind them, it allows us to reclaim or empower or shift and get to the nitty gritty of what some of these concepts are that can be
Yeah,
super powerful individually as we're navigating our journeys.
totally. I'd love to start diving in together into some concrete examples of when it's your intuition speaking and help the listeners start to understand, because that's the biggest thing, is how to tease apart what I call the monkey mind from your intuition. And again, your intuition is a quiet knowing. It doesn't have an emotion attached to it. It's just a certainty. And I read this fabulous book called The Gift of Fear. And in that, it talks about how humans are the only species that challenges their intuition. And
Hmm.
because of that, they get in trouble. If a deer senses danger, they're out of there. They're not going around going, well, did I really hear something? Maybe I didn't. It's probably fine. I'll just keep nibbling on this grass, right? Like, no, that doesn't happen. They're out of there. Um, but this this book talks about how, especially in detective work, they'll speak with victims, and almost always the victims will say, I had a feeling I shouldn't have gone into that room. I had a feeling something was going to happen. And it's that feeling that we say is probably just, oh, whatever, it's nothing. That's actually the bigger, more important thing to start listening to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm laughing about the deer thing because I'm at my dad's right now and there's tons of deer, and it's so amazing to watch them. And deer get this like in some ways they get a bad rap, like, oh, they're just skittish and they're just like
Right.
fearful, but they're not. And when they are comfortable, they will settle in and be totally like, we had a group of deer, there was about 7 or 8 the other night, and they're all like, snuggled up and like getting down, bedding for the night. And I'm like, that is so amazing because they really do have intuition.
Yeah, they felt safe, right? They knew it was okay to let their guard down and all of that.
Yeah.
But we talk about like, when you walk into a room, do
Yeah.
you pick up on people's energies?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so many things, and I think a lot of times people, hindsight becomes that knowing, like you were the example of the victims and detectives, but we all have those things. So I challenge our listeners and to go back and find those things. A lot of times it tends to, because these are the ones that we kind of connect to, is professionally. If we've been in a job and we kind of know we're ready to go, we really know, but we stay. We really know, but it's and we justify it in our brain. Oh, it's good
Totally.
money. Oh, it's comfortable. Whatever the reasons. The other, and Tami, you mentioned the going into a room. That's another great example. So when family situations, or just going into a party or a room, that sense that you are immediately attracted to someone because they're just like glowing with energy, or you really like feel called to them, or that feeling when you go into a room and you get that like, ooh, it doesn't feel okay in here.
Mm-hmm.
I like to
Mm-hmm.
speak to the example too of once upon a time when we were all in pandemic, which wasn't that long ago, and we'd go to the grocery store and we had to all be 6 feet apart, and everyone was a little anxious and nervous. But there was something really nice about shopping in a grocery store when you were 6 feet apart from each other. There was this like sense of your space, your bubble was a little bit protected, and
Mm.
that sense of like people aren't getting in your way, right?
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and we and our energy, our who we are as human beings, does go out more than our physical skin. We do. We're bigger, we're about 6 feet away from each other, actually, if we're really being honest. So
You're
that
talking about our energy
our
field.
energy, like our energy field. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bigger than just our human self. Well,
Yeah.
that explains why we get so exhausted going to Costco, because it's just so total
Totally.
sensory overload. Your body's everywhere, lights, there aren't windows.
Totally. Totally. And I think it connects too with when we are with like-minded people, it feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in
Mm-hmm.
a group of people that you're attracted to, it feels good, you have that feeling in your body that is nourishing, that you feel hugged, you feel connected, which is that same. And so where we feel it in the body is important, right?
Yeah.
So, and you had mentioned gut and that gut feeling. So do you want to
Mm-hmm.
talk here? I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, no, it's really a matter of sensing, right? So there's a couple of things that come up with intuition. It's listening to the quiet voice and trying to tune out the monkey mind. I'm going to talk a little bit about why that's hard in a second. It is a calming of our central nervous system, and we often feel that in our guts. It's a relaxing sensation. It's an ease that I think you feel when you're aligned with where the intuition is taking you. And this comes up a lot in decisions, right? So when I coach people in job search, for instance, and they're trying to figure out what kind of role they want to go for, I'll say, okay, when you're reading a job description, start to pay attention to how your body is reacting. As you're reading a description, are you feeling light? Are you feeling energized? Are you excited? Do you start to think about, did you start creatively brainstorming your way through the role and imagining and visioning? Maybe even feeling a little bit of sense of sadness or regret if you weren't to get this role. Versus, on the other hand, when you read a job description and you feel weighted and you feel heavy and you feel stressed and your heart's going and you're starting to be anxious and anticipate things, right? That's an easy way to understand which job should I apply for or not, right? Because we know, and I will tell you, I have so many stories from my coaching of people that come to me to help them make a decision when it's so clear to me that they have made a decision. But and this is where we'll segue into all the reasons why we don't follow our intuition. But before I go there, let's take a moment and talk about how we feel it. And I know you mentioned that you feel it in your hands because you've got
Yeah.
this therapeutic touch
Yeah.
element in you.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the first things as we're starting to understand our relationship with intuition is knowing in your body where it is. So I think, Tami, that the what you just spoke to is perfect, and I like to also think about it as simple as it is, if it is a yes or no, because sometimes you can distill it down to that. If you stop and ask yourself, do I feel yes in my body or do I feel no? And that's a good way to actually, and we'll talk a little bit more, I think, a little bit about tools.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
But that really clear, but then asking yourself when you say that where it is, like, and Tami mentioned hands. I feel a lot of stuff in my hands. I learned a modality of healing when I was young. My mom taught it to me as a child, and I have a lot of awareness and sensation in the palms of my hands. And for our readers that are like energy folks or watchers, listeners that
listeners,
are
watchers,
we have a chakra system. We have lots of energy systems in our bodies, and there are minor chakras in our palms of our hands. So that is something that I've developed over my lifetime. And it's just something that if I touch or feel or connect with my hands, I get probably more information than any other place in my body. And that's a weird one. Most people might feel it in their gut, might feel it in their heart, might even feel it like in their back, like a pushing towards something, or like oh yeah, that feels good, versus I don't want to go near there, and you want to back away.
Right. And so much of it is just the listening and paying attention and tuning into what is it for you, because we're all unique, right? And we all have our own ways of feeling this. So why do we ignore it? And I think the biggest thing I'd like to touch on here is this concept of other people's expectations, right? And that we rule so much of our lives based on what other people think, on the conditioning that we bring into situations, what our parents think we should be doing, and our loved ones and our best friends and all the people in our lives, our spouses, right? And
society, and like what we think we should be when we grow up, what we're gonna, I think this is antiquated now, but having the little, the white picket fence and the perfect house and the perfect job and the perfect life. But we all have a version of that we adhere to, or not adhere, but that we see in our mind. And how do we break that? How do we break it?
Right. And I think a lot of people would be making bolder career decisions, more heart aligned actions with where they live and how they live their life, if they felt permission to trust their intuition.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's heartbreaking as a career coach to hear these stories. And, and I try and help point it out to people that are open to change. But I can't stress this enough, that it's often other people's expectations and their voices in your head that are keeping you from trusting yourself. And so you have to wonder, what kind of life are you living if you're living it to make others happy at your own expense?
Yeah. And I think this is a very personal relationship to that we can still be good at the stuff that is for other people. Professionally in my career, I was really good at a lot of different aspects of my career, my professional life, when I had a more traditional professional life. And when it was time, when I heard that gut, when I clearly was like, oh, I can't do this anymore, I tried to talk myself out of it. I like my brain was like, but no, it's you, it's really good. And I came up with all these reasons why I was good at it. That was one of them. I'm good, but I'm good at this. I don't,
Right.
will I be good at, I mean, but we do get very committed to other people's version of us and vision of who we are. And it might not even be people that I mean, often it's people that we love and respect, but it's not our truth. It's not our truth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And sometimes we find ourselves surprised that when we slip back into our truth and we go against some of what we perceive to be other people's expectations, which are sometimes aren't really there, we get support from these other people in ways we hadn't expected, right?
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of it too, is as it's really our job to try and be our highest, truest version of ourselves and most aligned, especially if you're a parent, because you're modeling that for children.
Absolutely.
And that other people's voices. So, that's something maybe you can check yourself as you're going through a decision-making process and well, I really don't want to go to this party tonight. I know I don't. I feel so much calmer when I think about that. Okay, then why are you going? Well, I'm going because I said I would be there, because somebody told me, somebody's expecting me to see me. Okay, what are the ramifications of that? Are you more interested in pleasing them than making yourself feel content, right? And so you go through this process of, why am I making the decisions I make? Is it as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be?
And then what's our ego gets in the way, right?
Oh, we didn't even talk about it. We're 20 minutes in and we haven't even talked about ego.
But what you were just saying totally connected and with that sense for me. Again, these are personal experiences, but I've seen it with lots of different folks too.
Sure.
Is that when we're making a decision because we think, oh, it's so important for us to be there, at the end of the day, they're probably the people that invited you, that they might be a little bit disappointed you're not there, but they don't really care.
Yeah.
They're there for them. Like our ego gets so involved in our ego is like our brain, right? It gets in the way of our heart and our body. And our ego is like, oh, but I need to make somebody happy, or I need to, like, I did it because I said I would do it. Again,
Yep.
that is not the right reason to go to the party. If you feel like going to the party, go. But if you're like, I want to sit at home and snuggle with my cat, do that.
Yeah. I'm smiling and thinking about the conversation you and I had about a month ago, where I was really feeling like I didn't need you at my spring retreat, that you're always at my retreats. And it was hard to think of a retreat without you being there. But this one was a little different. And I wanted you there as a friend, but I didn't really need you as the facilitator that I normally have you show up as. And I knew you had personal stuff going on this spring. And I was like, how do I uninvite her without being bitchy? and not be like, and not have her think, oh, well, she doesn't want me anymore. She's rejected me. She doesn't like me, right? And having you start to create these stories in your head, because none of that was true either. The monkey mind. And so somehow we danced our way into the conversation where I politely said, like, hey, if you want to take a pass on this one, you can. And what was your first reaction?
My whole entire body was like, oh man, that's so fantastic. That totally now frees me up to do what I really need to do. And it was a perfect example of exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I was a little bit in my head about like, I wouldn't want to like Bail on Tami, like it's really important for me to be at her retreats, and we've created this really magical thing, and I love spending time with her. Like I did the same thing in my brain, but then there was this like, and it was this huge relief. It was this, and it gifted me space and time, and it allows me to free up my schedule to visit my son who doesn't live in the country anymore. So
Right.
it was perfect. It was exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was the perfect thing. And I was like, well, it would be, and this is where I've gotten to my practice of intuition. It would be really stupid if she shows up to make me happy and I'm supporting her to make her happy when really we're not making either of us happy. And so,
Exactly.
that's where this can get to. If you can find the ways to have the conversations without bruising someone's ego, without hurting them, but really speaking from your heart around what's needed, because we're getting back to the word belief and faith, where my belief and faith has taken this is to another level where, yes, I am creating this experience of a retreat, but I'm being guided by my higher self, my soul self, probably other guides or angels or energy in the universe that has a vision for what this retreat is supposed to look like. And I'm tapping into this intuitive knowing of, oh, the universe is telling me this one needs to look different. Okay, I got to get Jess out of it. I've got to bring Kayla in. How am I going to do that without hurting egos, right? And so there's this, okay, well, I've just got to trust. Wow, we just used all three words. Trust the process that, and surrender to it, that this was the way it was meant to be, right? And you felt relief. Kayla was elated because she was hoping there was a spot for her, which there wasn't. And now I believe, okay, this retreat is now designed in a way that the universe, the higher self, wants it to look for the people that are attending, for what they're going to get out of it.
So there's two more words I'm going to bring into our conversation. Good. Because as you're speaking to that, which was exactly what happened in this really amazing way. Mm-hmm. But what happens when we lean on those words, surrender, trust, faith, believe, is that then we move into an authenticity and living in our integrity in ways that are bigger than ourselves.
Yes. So would you say that's the promise on the other end of surrender?
Yeah. I mean, I think, and surrender's another one that's hard, right? Like I'm a controlling person. I love my life is
total control.
I like into control.
Yeah.
Love some good control. When you surrender and let yourself, if you surrender, you are going to move towards your true authenticity and your true integrity.
I feel it like my word of the year. Oh, I should talk about word of the year. I'll talk about word of the year in a second. My word of the year is attunement. And I picked it over alignment, which I have used before, because attunement felt like harmonic resonance. And so when you're doing these things, I feel like you're in alignment with your energy, with the universe, with the way things are supposed to play out, and everything feels a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. And so the integrity is just sort of this natural thing that happens, and the authenticity when you're attuned, like an instrument gets attuned, gets
totally tuned. Mm-hmm. So my word of the year, you're gonna laugh. So my first, and I started playing with words in September. Right. I have 5 different New Year's in my mind. So I start in September. Which for anyone, it's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and 10Q.
It is a new year.
So, it's a new year. It's one of the New Years. Yeah. We've got another big one. We have lots of New Years. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Fire Horse New
Fire
Year.
Horse is on the horizon.
Yeah.
Or probably already happened when this goes live.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So my first word of the year was embodiment and embodied. Like I was really
Mm.
needed to play with that word. But then surrender kept sneaking in, like this little like, but
Mm.
surrender, surrender, surrender. And so I kind of gave myself like permission because I like to, bend some rules too. So surrender became this very clear second word. And I have to tell you, as of the day that we're recording this entire year is all about faith, surrender, trust, integrity, attunement, being embodied.
Maybe you need to do a little word cloud
Right.
visual
Right.
that you can put up on your desk and have as a reminder. So here's a thought I've been playing with. I don't know if I've chatted with you about this, but all right. First of all, let's describe word of the year for people who are like, what the heck are you guys talking about? The word of the year concept is that you pick a word and that's your North Star for the year. That's what you're working towards. It's a word that you keep top of mind. It can hold you accountable. It's where your growth is coming from. And last year I started playing with this concept of, do we have a word for our lifetime?
Mm.
And I'm wondering if the embodiment is really your word for the lifetime, because it's so much about who you are and connecting the spirituality to the embodied work. So I'm going to float that one by you. What do you think of that?
I totally agree. And for those of you, like I do some different practices. Like I also pick a tarot card of the year and I pick like one a month. And I like to really hone in and specify getting into different energies. And more, yes, this lifetime is driven by sacred movement and embodiment. So absolutely. We probably stumbled on my lifetime word for
Yeah, I
sure.
think so.
For sure.
I feel like mine is intention, which is why we have the intention podcast. But when I think about all the work that I do, from the retreats to the
Yeah.
coaching to everything, it all comes back to being very intentional. And so I don't feel like I can ever choose it as a word of the year, because it's the through line.
It's everything.
It's always there.
Yeah.
Right. Versus attunement may not always be as powerful, in future years. If you've listened to the first 2 episodes, then you know that my dad sponsored my first 3 episodes. So this is my last shout out to him. He has been the biggest supporter of my creativity and from an early age inspired me to follow my heart. Thank you, Dad, for getting this podcast rolling. I'm so eternally grateful for your support. If you'd like to sponsor this podcast, reach out. I have single episode and multi-episode packages available, and I'm also open to exploring creative trades. My social influence is strong and my reach is wide. I'd love to see your business featured. Thank you. Talk a little bit about some of the things. Let's allow the listeners, now that we're half an hour in, to get to know you a little bit more. Talk a little bit about what embodiment means to you and sacred movement, and how you bring that into what your teaching looks like.
Sure.
Some of the things you do.
So we touched on it a little bit, is that I've had this really beautiful life experience that I learned some energy healing when I was a child. So my mom was a healer and a nurse and taught therapeutic touch and practiced therapeutic touch, which is it's similar to Reiki. And there's really, I believe that they're all just different, like fine-tuned. They're all kind of the same. It's energy, right? It's moving energy, working with energy. So there's a lot of different modalities. So I learned very early, which gave me this really beautiful gift in my life, that I was taught how to find inside my body a sense of groundedness or meditation or calmness as a child. So I was given this, and I think all kids are super sensitive. I think it's super important to teach our children how to find their groundedness or their balance or meditation, whatever you want to call it. And so I had that gift. I was given that gift very young, and I'm incredibly grateful. And if I when I tap into like where we come from, and I do believe we've lived many lives, and um, that's probably a thread that it might not just be a lifetime word, it might be actually like a soul word.
The soul word,
Tami.
right? Yeah. I haven't gotten that far. It just keeps getting bigger.
um,
Yeah.
and but so and how it's I also have always been a dancer. So I started dancing as a small child, and I'm sorry that just dinged. I started dancing as a small child. I've always been in theater or movement of some kind my entire life. And I've always often also had some kind of role of communicating to others and teaching others. So it came very naturally to me. Currently, I teach what I call intuitive belly dance or embodied dance, which really helps mostly women, but I've had some men be in their bodies. So we get so disconnected from our bodies because of the monkey mind and because of computer screens and all the things. And there's really simple ways to pull our energy and our connection downward. And we can, there's the getting in nature, the taking walks, the putting your feet in when you finish your shower, turn the water, the spigot onto cold and rinsing your feet off with cool water brings your energy really grounded in your body. So there's really simple and ways in which we can do it because we all feel really overwhelmed, and right now feels really overwhelming, and we all like the world's gone is fast, right? Like we get news instantaneously, and all the things that make us our brain go faster, that if we can find things to get out of our head and into our body through movement, through meditation practices, through intentionally drinking, sipping a cup of tea or coffee, we can get in our bodies.
Yeah. And you do labyrinth work?
Yeah. So the labyrinth stuff. So my mom and my aunt were both labyrinth. I'm a second generation labyrinth practitioner.
Oh, okay.
My mom and my aunt had labyrinths. My aunt actually built labyrinths, taught labyrinth workshops, did different things, ran labyrinth experiences, and I also do that as well. So my mom passed. Both my mom and aunt passed from Alzheimer's. My book is actually about our journey with navigating grief through Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and specifically using the labyrinth as a tool of healing. So walking a labyrinth is very much it's a path. It's a path that goes in one way in and the same way out. So it is circuitous, I think is the right word, path. It's not like a maze, which a corn maze has blocks, right? And so a labyrinth, once you start, you will get to the center. It doesn't always feel like it. You often feel like you're getting turned around and confused, but if you keep walking forward, you will get to the center. So I use that metaphor and that path, working with folks doing intuitive readings and connecting people with that. In fact, one of the practices I utilize in my energy healing is using that to get to a place. Getting to that center often can move us to a little different place in our brain. The drawing a labyrinth on a finger labyrinth or walking a labyrinth outside gives us we get to a different plane.
Mm-hmm. At our Colorado retreat, you brought a 25-foot canvas labyrinth with a rainbow labyrinth color on it that we rolled out across the entire backyard of this house we had rented. And it was just such a fabulous experience. We've got that Colorado retreat coming up again this fall, and maybe the labyrinth will come back. Just
let's hope
so
the weather holds
yeah.
so we can have it outside, because
the weather is
it won't fit inside.
Yeah, no, it has to be outside. It has to be outside. Earlier we talked about how we were going to give some techniques for tapping into our intuition, and one thing we didn't touch on that I want to make sure we don't forget is the sway test.
Yeah.
And so this is another fun one. Like, as I mentioned, listening to your body, paying attention to the signals. this is another fun one where you can ask yourself a question. So let's see, you want to be standing up or sitting up straight, and close your eyes. And if you're not driving or walking, you can do this along with us. But ask yourself the word no, and then ask yourself the word yes, and feel which way your body pulls you. And so for me, it might be I say no and I start to pull back, or I say yes and I start to pull forward, or it might be a right left sway. But first figure out which is the one for your body, yes, no, which direction. And then ask yourself a question like, should I go to this party tonight? Right? Yes, no. And that's a really fun way to start to quiet the monkey mind. And again, to start tapping into our nervous system and our higher self to tune everything else out and get some answers. So that's something to play with. And it's best with yes or no decisions, I would say.
And I would say it's really good to practice with things that don't really matter. Don't go into the like, should I quit my job or not?
Yes.
Or should I get divorced or not? Like go into the, should I move to Turkey? Don't do the big ones. Do something that's like, should I have fish or chicken tonight? Should I, on my walk, should I go left or right today? Do things that kind of don't matter, because then you can start to build. It's like building a muscle. It's like when we're exercising and we want to build muscles. So if we can practice with things that are kind of inconsequential, that helps us understand and trust our body and give our body permission to interact more with us and our brain.
Yep.
The same practice, and I teach people that same practice with the swaying, but you can also just say, where do I feel yes in my body? So if you take a couple deep breaths and say, where is yes? Do I feel a tingle in my stomach? Do I feel a flutter in my heart? Do I feel it in my hands? Do I feel like my brain, my mind is expanding? Do I feel it in my feet? So that's another way that you can start to attune and assess your body's wisdom, because our body holds a lot of wisdom.
That is so true. And there are other tools.
I know that I don't so I have other tools.
Yeah.
So another and this is more of an intention tool, but I think it goes. So we have we all have ritual in our life. We all do things. We all have habits. You can call it a habit. We all have ways in which we start our day, right? So we all wake up and we do something. We drink a glass of water first, or we go to the bathroom and, brush our teeth first. It's very simple and easy for our listeners and watchers to create that as an intentional, positive experience that's not just pouring yourself another cup of coffee, but can be, I am going to have a day that's full of beauty, or I'm going to may I bring love and light into my day through as I'm drinking my cup of coffee. So we can do these things. There's and I read this book in my 20s. It was, it's called Everyday Meditation by Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a meditation practitioner person from, I think he's probably Buddhist. And it was so impactful to me, because this idea of sitting in meditation was I'm like, there is no way. I cannot sit for 20 minutes. I might rather poke my eyes off.
Yeah, I can't either.
This idea that other things can be meditative practices. So taking a walk with intention, doing the dishes with intention, doing something, taking a shower with intention, something that we already do can then become that practice, rather than trying to find a way to meditate or be intentional or stop to breathe or whatever. Do something that we have to do and make it something that has now layered in with intention. Laundry is a great one too. right? Because
Yeah.
we all kind of were like, folding clothes. But if we can fold clothes with intention, and it helps us be more present. It helps
Hmm.
us, it introduces mindfulness into everything. And our presence, and when we're more present, when we're more able to listen, we will hear that quiet little voice, which is our intuition.
Yes. Yes, totally. Yeah. But yeah, we could get out. I'm looking at my pendulum. We could get out
Yeah, we could do
toys
that.
like
Yeah,
that. We can do all
we
kinds
got
of
other
things. But
tools for you
we'll
too, guys. Come
we'll
to our
tease.
retreat.
Yeah, come to the retreat. We'll tease you about that. All kinds of things. I'm even thinking as we're talking, we may do a follow-up episode, Jess, about introductions to the clairs, right? And
Oh
getting
yeah.
into what all of that is, because this is where when you start to heighten your intention or your intuition, you can start to really invite in more knowing and get into some fun stuff. But that's going to be a tease for today.
And we spoke a little bit to this, but a lot of times people are using their intuition and they don't realize it.
Oh, for sure.
So, and that's that thing of, that piece that like, well, I'm not intuitive, you are. But if you really challenge some folks, we have a dear friend who was like, I'm not that's not me. I'm not woo-woo at all. I don't have any of this stuff. And then once we started really diving in and speaking to it, she's full of she actually she's successful at everything she does because she's tapping into her intuition without even realizing it. I think she realizes it now.
She realizes it now. But that's one thing we want to really inspire all of our listeners is to start paying attention.
Yeah.
And start to understand and just get friendly with it. Understand what it is, that this is a part of you. It's the most true part of you. It's always got your best interest in heart. And what would it mean if you started to listen to it more, to allow it to have voice over other people's stuff? Yeah, play with it. Right. Yeah.
Play.
For sure. All right. Well, we're going to start to draw this conversation to a close because I do feel like we could just keep talking forever. So one of the things we did not mention is that you're actually located in Denver. You are not in Chicago, like I guess no one I've met so far is in Chicago, but you're located in Denver. So your belly dance classes are actually in Denver. So for any of our Colorado listeners, know that there's really great ways to connect with Jess outside of my retreats. So tell us a little bit about any offers you've got coming up.
Sure. So I do teach dance. My dance class is once a week. It's on Mondays. I have Zoomed people in before. So if someone's dying to play with us, we will. My group of gals is very interested in supporting any way that folks would like to connect with that. And then I also have supported and helped will help folks if they need and want some kind of movement in the groups that they're doing. Besides our retreat, I do have some other retreats in Colorado through Colorado. One's up in Woodland Park in September. We do have a retreat in Taos, New Mexico that's sold out. So yay.
Yay. Congratulations.
So there's, and I do also offer healing sessions. So I also do sound bath healing and do offer sound baths. There's a sound bath once a month that I'm part of as well. And that's in the south part of Denver. So if anyone's interested, my website is www.jessicastokesauthor.com, and all my contact information is there to find me and connect with the things we do.
Wonderful. And we'll be sure to tag you in the episode and make sure people can find you. So awesome. Thanks so much for coming. This has been a great conversation.
Amazing.
Thank you. So thank you again for joining me today on the Intention Podcast. Be sure to listen all the way to the end to get an inspirational quote related to today's episode. If you're looking to bring more intention into your life, reach out so we can set up an exploratory call. Through retreats, monthly soul circles, and my Option C career life coaching package, my programs and services can bring you back to a place of intention, allowing you to live a more switched on life. Check out our Colorado retreat we mentioned in this episode. Jessica and I will be facilitating that together in October in Glenwood Springs. Learn more about all of my offerings at www.grayzonementoring.com. And now for today's inspirational quote. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. And that, my friends, was Albert Einstein. It's one of my favorite quotes. So go out and look at the world through new eyes. Till next time.